Welcome back to another edition of the Hoopers Almanac. It's post All-Star Weekend, and we're in the lull between All-Star Weekend and when games start back up this week. So we thought, let's do a recap of All-Star Weekend. And then I have another post, a blog post that came out probably by the time you're hearing this, it should be up. I re-tiered the NBA as we come into the final stretch of the season. And so this is post-trade deadline, post-All-Star break, my thoughts on all 30 teams and where they fall into not like our usual tiers. This isn't the Russell, McGrady, and Patton, Cat, and Kellogg class. This is a bunch of different tiers and going from there. So I'm excited to discuss it with Adam and hear his thoughts as well. But before we get going, let's bring in our friends from Green Top. Back, Adam, and post All-Star Weekend, I'm going to ask the simple question of how much pain have you been in not watching serious NBA basketball?
I actually welcome our All-Star Weekend because my life is so, basketball heavy.
Sure.
And then every night, whether it's after practice or, between stuff like watching highlights or catching up on games, things like that, it's like, it actually is nice to have like a little reset. And it's also coincidentally the same weekend and week that our playoffs start for the teams that I coach. So it's like, it's nice to kind of be able to focus on that. But then I know by like Wednesday, because we have that one game Wednesday, the Lakers are a makeup game from one of the Fire games on Wednesday, and then a ton of games on Thursday. I will be like Thursday night, I'm like, yes, this is back. This is great. Yeah. But no, I actually appreciate the break every once in a while. I think it's good. It kind of like creates the want again.
I agree with that. And especially after a week of everybody dumping on the All-Star Weekend, it's like, okay, I need, like you said, it's a week to reset. It's a week for me to catch up on movies, on shows. And I told my wife, I'm like, it's the week that I will not have an NBA game on all week.
Yep.
I'm like, I'll have the All-Star game on my phone. We can watch the SNL 50. We can watch the first episode of White Lotus. We can, which you'll inevitably fall asleep in. She did. And we caught up on a bunch of things. I showed her Lord of the Rings for the first time. And so, yeah, it is a great week to just like recoup and relax. And you're right. This is when my love of basketball truthfully kicks in. It's these next 2 weeks of February. It's all of March with March Madness and college basketball. I know you don't love it as much as I do, but it's okay. But when conference champions starts back up, I'm locked in, and I immediately want to get an ESPN Plus subscription just so I can watch the Big South first round games. And so I watched a lot of college basketball this weekend too. But it does get me excited. Like you said, it does get me revamped for the back half of the season, which is why I came out with this new tier list that we'll kind of go through in the back half of this. But before we get into that, we decided we wanted to be the next podcast to give our totally original thoughts on some of the All-Star game antics. Draymond Green decided to let out a lot of a lot of NBA fans' thoughts. But Adam, I'm going to ask the very basic, very open-ended question of, what needs the biggest change from All-Star Weekend?
I mean, it really needs a total overhaul.
Okay.
I don't think anybody like would agree that it's like fine. Like it's broken. Like I think any just like casual fan, hardcore fan, almost there's like the fans who like, maybe are basketball fans but just don't like the NBA or just, whatever. Everybody can agree that it's broken. So whether it's the Friday night stuff, the Saturday night stuff, the actual game itself, I think in general the thing is broken. Look, I'm wearing a Dallas 2010 All-Star Weekend shirt because that was a really fun one. I went to that with my brother Austin and got to through our buddy Trey, who you met Trey.
I did.
Yes, we got a bunch of like kind of connections with the NBA. The players' hotel was the W Hotel downtown Dallas. It was also freezing that weekend, so we spent a lot of time indoors, just kind of hanging out, and met a ton of players. Got to go to all the events. It was cool. I was also younger, it was kind of like a more enjoyable experience at that time in my life. But the game itself was pretty fun. It was in Cowboy Stadium, and it was 100. It's still the highest attendance for a basketball game ever.
Really?
And
Over the
game itself
Alamo
was,
Dome?
It was, yeah, it holds a lot more than the Alamo Dome because
Okay.
they added the seats, like so they put it where the
Oh,
football field would be, and then
wow.
added all these seats. Yeah, so yeah, it was like 105,000 people. It was crazy,
Jesus.
kind of sensory overload. But the game was pretty good. And if people went back and watched the game, it's actually a close game. Melo has a shot, I think, to win it and misses it, and East won. But like the whole thing is just broken. I mean, I think people like things just kind of run its course sometimes, and it's okay. It's okay. Like I don't think there needs to be like I don't think there needs to be a great outrage about it or oh it's because this generation is soft. It's like I don't think it has anything to do with that. Like I think there's just a general like this was really cool for a time. Time for something new. Like I think it's just things just run its course and just let it run its course. And you still name an all-star team, maybe you do some kind of event. But I thought last night, which I just watched just now, like in the last couple hours, I thought it was awful. Like the format was weird. Like I actually the way they divided the teams wasn't bad, but having that Rising Stars team in there, I was
Yeah.
just like, what are we doing? And then just like the Mr. Beast stuff and just like, oh my god, like we need to go viral and like all this stuff. It just felt like we got to reach the kids, and it's like no, like just make it a really good game and like people will watch it. And if they don't, it's okay. It's okay. Just move on. I just think when I compare this, sorry, I'm going for a long time, but
You're
when I
good.
compared this to the Four Nations face off, which is happening in hockey right now, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
the hockey's been so fun. The players are trying so hard. It's just night and day. Like it's just I'm not even upset at the players. Like I'm just like this thing is just done. Let's move on from it and just find another way. So the slam dunk contest is fine. 3-point shootout is fine. Like maybe you still do that, but I don't know. Like it's just not that interesting anymore.
So you brought up let's just start here. The actual amount of game time that was played yesterday was 33 minutes and 41 seconds. The
Okay, that's
amount of
like on
time,
court game time.
yes. The
Okay.
amount of time that was spent in commercial or breaks was 2 hours and 26 minutes.
Outrageous. Yeah.
Four fifths, well, sorry, Mitchell's math again. 5/6 of the evening was ads in Mr. Beast breaks and Kevin Hart being dumb the
Oh
entire
my
time.
god, Kevin
Dude,
Hart, man, that was
that was annoying.
unbearable. Unbearable.
Asinine.
Yes.
And then the other sixth was just game time. And I'm like, really? Listen, I hate the format. I hate that I want a 4-quarter game. I want a 4-quarter and if you want to make the fourth quarter a target score, go for it. Love
Yes.
it. Do that. Great. Don't give me the damn Rising Stars though.
No.
If you're gonna do that, I love someone, and I'm sure you saw it too. Give me the all snubs team. Then at that point, I'd rather have that. I'd rather the guys who didn't make it, and they're like, hey, this might make it like I don't know if you want, and like if you end up winning your game, you get like something on your basketball reference page or something. I don't know. My point is this: it was a cool thought, but it was poorly executed.
Very poorly executed. Yep.
Yeah. The other thing that came out of the weekend was Ja Morant saying he might do the dunk contest next year. I don't know if you saw that.
I did, but it's like LeBron did that. Like a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Zion's done that. It's like yeah, it's all fun and games until it actually comes up to the weekend of, and you're like, do I really want to do this? And I don't know. The dunk contest was pretty good. Like Mac McClung is. I mean, he's like going to go down as like a legendary like dunker.
Yeah, and that's it is phenomenal what he can do.
Yes.
He does prove that white man can't jump. But
he can fly. It's crazy. I mean, he's.
I still remember watching his high school highlights. I will still forever remember watching those. But my point is this too. If you want to make it a spectacle weekend, you can't have guys like Buzelis like coming out there and dunking. You can't have like Castle did good, but you
Castle
can't.
actually held his own. Yeah.
But it can't be Castle or Andre Jackson. It has to be like if you wanted to make it a spectacle weekend, you have to have the spectacle and the big name players too to go along with it. And the 3-point contest still has that sometimes. This year it didn't feel like we had the biggest names, or like we had some big time names, but I still didn't think we had, I don't know. I feel like we missed the era of like just hey, here's the sharpshooters. Like when we had Reddick and Allen and like in the late 2000s, early 2010s, just going at it with each other too. And
young Steph
Curry
was in it early on, yeah.
Yeah, and Clay, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, of course, Clay's no longer the 3-point shooter now. I'm also rambling. My point is this. You're absolutely right. There needs to be an overhaul or just it also just feels like there is a I was talking to a buddy about it at work. Could we do something like the Four Nations thing, but like make it a 3-on-3 tournament
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
do a 3-on-3 tournament and make that 3 days? So that was something I thought about.
Yeah, and I don't the whole like, oh, it needs to be East West or it needs to be, I actually don't care about that. To me, the teams, how the teams are divided, I don't, that doesn't matter at all to me. It's like it needs to be competitive and it needs to be two teams facing each other in a game like that. It's like that's what it needs to go back to. And I do
Yeah.
like the idea of three quarters and then a target score. I think that makes sense. I think the target score portion of the 2020 All Star game was unbelievable. Like if people go
Oh
back and
yeah.
watch that, it is amazing. It's the best stretch of All Star play in like decades. Like the 2001 game is great. That's a really good game. But even even these ones that people are looking back on with such like rose tinted glasses, the first like half they're barely playing. You know, like even
Speaking of
oh
the
back in my
2001,
day,
2001 game. I mean, it is just this like it
it's
is
an
just
awesome
this.
fourth quarter.
It is a phenomenal fourth quarter. But like the 02, I mean, like that, like early 2000s, those games, they're kind of gross. They're very
Yeah,
gross to like go back and watch the first half.
yeah,
And it was always like the thing throughout the entire 2000s and even the early 2010s. Like, hey, first half, let's just like have fun, and then the second half we'll try.
yeah.
And I think somewhere that got lost, and I don't know when it was.
Well, I mean, yeah. Number one thing, I think all these guys make just like an outrageous amount of money, and like there's just no real like, what is the benefit of like playing that hard in these games? Like someone gets hurt and like you screw up your second half of the season. Like this stuff feels like so high stakes, like beyond like the All Star game, that like this game just doesn't hold any weight anymore. And so
Mm-hmm.
guys in like franchises have just gotten smarter. And I see this even with like AAU tournaments I go to, where it's like, hey, there's this ranked kid here or whatever, and there's so many things broken with the the AAU system, but like, oh, there's this ranked
Yeah.
kid here. Oh, he's not going to play in this game because like it's like a slightly lesser opponent. Like he maybe will hold him out and like let him play in like the bigger one later tonight and stuff like that. So like that's the prevailing kind of thought process like all across basketball right now.
Yeah.
So I don't really blame. I honestly don't blame the players. I do wish they played harder. Like number one, I mean, obviously like they could do their part and just play harder, but
Yeah.
and that is like the number one thing that could be fixed is like the players could just play harder. It's like, but I don't really like. I understand like why there's not much of an incentive. It's like, well, why would be like what is the point of this? Like it's just kind of lost its thing, and so it's like maybe you just kind of tie it off and move on, and you name an all star team. But so my thing is like, why don't you just change how you divide the teams every year? If there's a year where it makes sense to do like international versus USA, then do that. Don't
Yeah.
force it. But if there's a year where that kind of makes sense, maybe you have three teams or something like that, two teams, and you just like divide them. Hey, like international players here or whatever. Like I don't know why it needs to be like, well, a year in advance we set in stone that next year it's going to be this team versus this team, or Team Steph versus Team LeBron, or this versus this. It's like, why not just decide it 2 weeks before? Like you name the team, look at your rosters, what makes sense for this, and then let's do that for this year. I don't know. I think the 3-point shootout and dunk contest. I like when it's a mix of like specialists and stars. Like it'd
Mm-hmm.
be cool if there was like two really big stars in the dunk contest and two kind of specialists, like a Mac McClung type. And
Yeah.
like I like when there's kind of role player like shooters that are in the 3-point contest. But if it's all eight of them, that's not great. Like I like when there's kind of a mix of like really big stars, but also guys who are just really great at this specific skill.
Give me Peyton Pritchard in a 3-point contest if
Yeah,
that's
exactly. That's a great
or
example.
like
Yes.
or Luke Kennard. Like Luke Kennard
Yes.
and Peyton Pritchard should be in a
Yes.
3-point contest at some point. And then yes, give me your Steph Curry, your Tyler Hero. Sure,
Tyler
I
Hero.
mean, if
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good. Congrats to him. We should have said that at some point, but congrats to Tyler Hero for winning the 3-point
Yeah.
contest. The judges screwed Wemby and Chris Paul. Let's be real here.
Oh man, that was great. That was great.
They found
yeah.
the glitch in the system.
Yes, and they got punished for it. Yes. Yeah.
God forbid.
And
And of course, it was Wemby's idea. Of course, he's getting big brain ideas, and
From Chris Paul.
And yeah, it's good lord, whatever. God, that was so funny. I was showing Susanna highlights of that, and she's like, "What the hell are they doing?" I'm like, "Well," and so I kind of explained it to her, and she's like, "That's stupid." I'm like, "Yeah, well, the NBA also has some stupid thoughts here."
For sure.
So, anyways, it was just super funny just talking with her through that. I do also think the reigning champion should have to come back the next year and defend his title in the skills competition. I think the 3-point winner and the dunk contest winner should have to come back each year. So that way, I feel like there's someone to beat, and then that also means, hey, can some high profile name, especially Mac McClung. Listen, you're right. The guy is like made a name for himself literally just for coming out on a Saturday of All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
But that's all he does. I mean, he's considered a two-way player, but the stats just he does.
He's not really in the league. Yeah.
No. Um, so my thought is this: I'm just happy that that's been like the one fun thing the past 3 years has been watching Mac McClung
Yeah.
at All Star Weekend. So
Yeah. And I also think the All-Star weekend, like, it's not really for us, you know, like it's kind of for kids. Like when I was 10, it was like the coolest thing ever. Like I was now, coincidentally, when I was 10, the 2001 All-Star game was happening. So that was like the coolest, All-Star game. But it's okay that it's like not for like me anymore. I'm not that like bummed. Like the kids I coached today were talking about it, like, and they saw the highlights and they watched the dunk contest. And it's like, I don't know. Like it's okay that not everything is for like
sure,
it's just everyone loves to complain about just everything all the time. And so like that just plays, negativity plays, like, 90% of, posts are negative. But I don't know. Like, and I don't like this. This was not fun. Like I did not enjoy the game at all. I muted it because I was so annoyed by the Kevin Hart stuff. I
yeah.
also don't love the like I like that Draymond is like just speaking how he feels, but like it is kind of crazy. Like one of the league's partners is just like actively dumping on the thing that like they're broadcasting. Like it's kind of
Is it
strange.
TNT's way of just sabotaging ever having a future with the NBA?
I mean, maybe, or maybe they're just like, well, we don't have one, so like, who cares? Like,
That's also fair.
just yeah, it's just like whatever. But no, and then I thought the Kevin Hart bit, like the worst part, it was at the beginning when he's like, like what is the biggest issue the league has right now? Is like casual fans don't really understand. They see the threes and the number of threes. They don't really understand that like the league actually isn't that different than it used to be. It's like we've traded long twos for threes. Like
Yeah.
shots at the rim are about the same as they always have been. Mid range shots are down. Long twos are obviously down. Free throws are up. And 3-point shooting is way up. So it's like the league, it actually isn't that different. They're like what people want to say, but like that's like such an easy like narrative to grab onto. So what did Kevin Hart do? Here's another big man shooting a three. Like if I see another 7-footer shooting a three, it's like you're doing this on the broadcast. Like this is exactly what you do not want if you're the league. Like I just don't understand why that was like cool. It's just so stupid, and he's just so played out. I'm just sick of it.
All right, you ready for my 2000s? Who would I rather? I'd rather watch 3 pointers than this guy backing down and do a post up moves. You ready for my comp this week?
Let's hear
I'd
it.
rather watch the amount of 3 point shots go up than watch Mark Jackson do a back down for 17 seconds and
Yep.
then only for him to turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Anyways, um,
Yeah.
I
We
can't take
honestly
full.
we can speak on this because we do the work. We go watch old games. Like
We
we
do,
really do.
and I also
Like
can't take. I also might have taken Ryan Russillo's comment that he might have said on part of my take this week. So I'll change my mind. I'll say I'd rather watch that than. No offense to Jason Kidd, I'd rather watch that than watch Jason Kidd back down a guy for 94 feet and then didn't go shoot a shot.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I think what's happened is this like narrative has been created. People wanted an excuse to like as they're not watching the NBA anyway because like they probably just don't really like it in the first place. And it's like, oh, that's the reason. And like let me grab onto that too. It's all the threes, and it's like that's just not true. Like I just like I think the majority of these people who are saying that just actually don't really like basketball in general. And the whole thing like there's no more creativity and all that stuff. Man, watch these games. There's more creativity now than ever before in like how people are just, like, trying to get open using ball handling. It's like it's like that whole narrative is like ridiculous to me. It's all people who are not involved in the game. The people who stay in the game, who stay like locked in and actually try. Kevin Garnett, Allen Iverson, and then anybody who's like been a former player who's now coaching, they get it and they say like, oh no, these players today are the most skilled players ever. Yeah, it's just like such a lazy like thing. Too many threes. Just like okay, cool. Like the second Kevin Hart said that, I was like mute and I didn't listen to a single word
yep.
the rest of the broadcast.
No. So what was it? It was. I guess it might have been Saturday with my dad. And my dad said something about like watching one of the NBA games before the break and everything. And he was like, it just seems like such a higher scoring game. I'm like, yeah, it's just because these offenses are just crazy high, more highly talented than they ever have been. He's like, yeah, he's like, I wish they would play defense. I'm like, Dad, they are playing defense.
They
It's
are.
just
They are.
super hard to guard these guys now
Yes.
compared to what we were watching back in the 90s and 2000s. We don't have the Luke Longleys of the league anymore who are just who take 10 seconds to get down from each end of the court. We got guys like Wemby, and we got guys like hell, Zubac makes it down quicker down the court than Luke Longley ever did. And so it's just like we just have a higher threshold of talent. We have a higher threshold of athleticism, and I'm with you. It's just like it gets so underappreciated the amount of talent we do have and the amount of athleticism we have in this league, and that's just what sucks. It does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's people who I think you and I are like in lockstep. It's why we have this website that we have together because it's like every era has its value, and like I love watching old games, and it's okay, but
Yes.
they are different. It's not. It just people want it to be
Yeah,
better or worse so badly, and they don't want to just say different. Like different does not mean better or worse. It's just like the 1980s were played differently than they were today. The 1990s were played differently than they were today. Are there some things that players are better at now than for sure? Ball handling, shooting from distance, all these different types of
yes.
things for sure. Well, there are things that players from the 80s might be a little bit better at than they are now, like boxing out, interior passing. Like I think that's some things that
There's
like
some
some of the
passing
players
and some IQ.
yes,
IQ.
that's like
Yeah,
that's a little bit. It was a little bit better than that it is now. But like overall, the overall skill level, it's not even close. Like it's not
yeah.
even, and it's okay to because if we're actually doing our jobs and the players are actually doing their jobs, as we move forward, this stuff gets handed down and they get better and better and better. So it's like it should get easier as we go on. It should get easier to score if we're actually teaching these things correctly. It's so wild to me that we can't see that. That like a majority of people can't see that.
I'm gonna. Were you a How I Met Your Mother fan at
I've
all?
seen a few episodes, but I'm not like a super fan or
You're
anything.
good. I'm
But
going to quote my strongly far distant second cousin, Neil Patrick Harris, Barney Stinson. New is always better.
Mhm.
And he then goes on the line of saying that the sequels of Star Wars are better than the originals. And he also says a 5-year-old Scotch is better than a 50-year-old Scotch. But that's not the point. My point is this: new is not always better. New doesn't always mean better. But
Right.
we're right now in the moment where everything like the talent is better, but like you said, there's just different styles of play that we've seen throughout
Yeah.
every decade. Hell, every like 5 years of the NBA, we've seen how much the NBA changes so much. So
Yeah.
I am, I am fully in lockstep with you. So yeah, I'm excited just to see how this back half of the season goes and to I think mute more games than I ever have in my life. I think, which also Kurt Sell, I'm shouting him out once again, also said he's like, I don't know if I've ever hated color commentators more in any sport than in the NBA. I was like,
Mm.
we are in a treasure trove of play-by-play guys in the NBA,
Yes. Yes.
and color commentators truthfully just can't catch up. I think
No.
we have I think me and my dad, I think, counted 7 or 8 like play-by-play guys
That
in
are
the
like
NBA.
excellent. Like excellent. Yes.
Phenomenal,
Yes.
phenomenal,
Yes.
and that's just like national TV guys.
Yes.
There's some like local
Local guys that are
guys who are,
great. Yes.
yeah, and there's also some shitty local guys, but we're not going to get into those. We're talking about the good guys. But I think we might have 3 good color commentators. I think we might have 3. My dad can't
Yeah.
stand Grant Hill anymore. I can't stand Grant Hill anymore. Grant Hill also for other personal reasons, just because he left Jalen Brown with the USA team, but whatever. But I was trying to think about it. Like we cut out one of them in Jeff Van Gundy a few years ago. I mean, we just have ran out of good color commentators. We've resorted to Jay Billis now sometimes.
No, and I had started to grow a little bit tired of Van Gundy's stick, but now that he's gone, I'm like, man, I
I miss
miss him.
it.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm
I miss it.
like, well, yeah, I was like, well, I forgot how good we had it when we did have JVG, but because JVG when he talked basketball was really really good. I mean, he
Yes.
was spotting things constantly. I mean, obviously, there's a reason he's immediately got a job with the Clippers and got a ring with your Celtics last year. So
Damn right.
no, I mean he's a super sharp basketball mind, no question about it. But I did think his like shtick got a tad old. But no, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, that would have been nice if we could still have that. I mean, I thought the
Yeah.
All Star game was a perfect example of that. Like, we still get Ernie. I think BA is great. Like, he's really good.
Oh
But
yeah.
like, wait, what are we doing with these people with him? And Reggie actually like has had a big ebb and flow. Like, I thought he was like
This is one of his
really
good moments. This has been a good year for him. I feel like
yes,
there's
yes.
been I would say there was about a
He's
5 year
improved. He's
yeah,
improved.
there was a 5 year stretch in the back half of the 2010s that I could not stand Reggie.
It's terrible.
Now, since I think literally since the bubble, everything's
Mm,
been better for him. I think ever since he's like had the chance to see how much research can help him, like how much he's dove into research in game, I think that's what's helped him. And ever since the bubble, I think he's been so much better.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Um,
No, I think he's actually turned into a pretty good one. So when I hear them in the broadcast, I'm like, oh, okay, this would be good. It was just all the extra nonsense that like happened yesterday that I just like wanted to. Yeah, I was like, I can't. I mean, I'm gonna fast forward the majority of it. I mean, it took me like an hour to watch the All Star game, like because there's so like you said, there's
well, there's
so
33
little.
minutes of gameplay. I would
Yeah,
I would think it might have been taking quicker.
it actually probably was quicker. I did watch the Draymond the little bit between the first 2 games.
Okay.
I mean, that's it. Yeah, I mean that's yeah. It probably did. It probably took me like 50 minutes to watch the whole thing.
I yeah, I wouldn't blame you if it took you quicker. Um, okay. Anything else about All Star Weekend?
No, I think in closing, it's just like it's not even like worth getting that mad about. It's just like, hey, like it's just this thing, and like it's over, and like we don't have to like think about it again. And now we're on to like real basketball that actually counts and matters anymore. If you notice, like on all of our stuff that we've done for the site, like I've taken out anything like in terms of like accomplishments that are like all-star related. Like if
Yeah.
like, oh, he's a four-time all-star game MVP, doesn't matter. I've moved that into the category of like things that we like accomplishments that we didn't consider in this ranking, you know, because like all this stuff it doesn't matter. Like this doesn't matter. So I don't know, it's not worth getting that worked up about. I mean obviously we've done that, and that's, you know, the first
Yeah.
25 minutes of this podcast, but I'm not even like worked up. It's just kind of like it's just like it's okay. Like it's over, and like it's not really for me, and it's like, yeah, let's move on and talk about real basketball.
I love it. So let's move on. Let us move on then to talk about real basketball
Do
and
it.
my possibility that I might be stupid on some of these rankings. So if you're listening to this now, like I said, it should be out. If not, you can blame Bridget. If not, but it should be out. Don't blame Bridget. Blame me. So I came out with a tier rankings for the rest of like just post All-Star break, post trade deadline, what I thought about these different teams as we go into the deadline. I'm realizing now I probably should have thrown the records on some of these and just like said where they were post All-Star break. Maybe I changed that before people listen to this. So if you're reading,
Yeah, no, I actually liked it because it's like it's
okay,
not really about their record. It's like
you're right.
where yeah.
You're right. Okay,
And also
so
that's going to change in like 2 days. So it's like it's
you're
like
right.
the record. So yeah,
You're
no,
right.
I actually I like how you did it. It made sense to me.
Okay, I appreciate it. And so yeah, I
Yeah,
sent it to Adam. Like, hey, is this a good idea? And he's like, yes. I'm like, okay, cool.
yeah.
So Adam, should we start from the bottom or start from the top?
I think bottom. Yeah, I
Okay.
actually was thinking that same thing. Yeah, I think we start from the bottom.
All right. So we're gonna start from the bottom. Like any good podcast, you start from the bottom, move on to the top. In any good ranking. So I have named these different fun tier names. Tell me if they're not fun. I don't care. I think they're fun. And so we're gonna start with the bottom tier, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. That's a lot of teams. That's the biggest category of any of the biggest tier. There's 8 teams in the capturing the flag tier. It's a common term. I know everyone's probably heard it at this point if you're an NBA
No,
nerd.
it's solid, solid.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
appreciate it. And what I did, and I'm not going to like read my one sentence for each of these, but I'll read off the team names. And I don't know. I mean, I guess my question for you, especially for some of these teams, it's pretty cut and clear, like whether or not they belong in these, especially in this tier. I feel like it's pretty cut and clear that all 8 of these teams belong in this tier. But this is the Brooklyn Nets, the Toronto Raptors, the Portland Trailblazers, the Charlotte Hornets, New Orleans Pelicans, Utah Jazz, and Washington Wizards. That's just in descending order. There was no true order to anything. If you thought I tried to do this in alphabetical order, I really thought about it for a half a second, and I was like, nope, I am going to do this in this order because I think the top teams are most fun, and the bottom teams suck to watch. And that's how I thought about this tier. Every one of these teams is going for Cooper Flag, and I would say this: I would be excited if Cooper Flag joined any of these teams, but the Washington Wizards.
I know. Well, I mean, for our buddy Carl, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, but just, yeah, I don't know. The Hornets, ugh,
The
I don't know.
Hornets.
Yeah,
So what I said was this, and I'll give this Hornets one away: a superstarless team that has a great coach and an injured number one option. And if Cooper Flag goes there, LaMelo Ball is no longer the number one option in my mind.
yeah,
So
yeah.
also, I didn't realize Cooper Flag was only 6'8". I thought for some reason he was like 6'10", 6'11", and I was just eerily disappointed. I was like, dang, we're going to have another, like a slightly shorter version of Chet. But no, but I'll take it. He's a small forward that'll be wing that'll be pretty solid in the NBA.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. No, he's gonna be great. Yeah, I like the name of the tier. I do think you can draw a slight line below, or I guess above, however you want to say it. I think the Blazers, Raptors, and Nets are like trying to play competitive basketball.
Yes.
Like the other four are like, well, we're done. Like this is, I think Washington and Utah especially are like, we're done. I mean, Utah organizationally have just decided we're gonna, they have a good coach and good future and everything, but the Wizards are like, I mean, a truly awful team. And then the Pelicans have just been so hurt. It's just like you can't even. I mean, they have the most random lineups they play sometimes. Trey Murphy's been awesome. You even note about that. But yeah, I do think Portland obviously had that crazy run, but they won like 9 out of 10 games, or it might have been
They
been
beat
even better
the
than that.
Suns twice in a row.
Yeah, and so like the Portland is actually trying to play like competitive basketball, and I think Toronto is too. They're just such a strange team, and Brooklyn clearly like has a good young coach, and Jordi Fernandez, who obviously was a Canada's national team coach of the Olympics, and yeah, I mean like they're They're solid, but they also are in sell mode. So they're clearly like organizationally have decided, hey, we're going to take a step back. But I do appreciate they're trying to put a competitive thing on the floor. But it makes sense that they're all in the same tier. There's only one team who you have ahead of them that I'm kind of like, you could easily put them in this bottom tier, but they're not
Oh,
trying to. They're not trying to lose. That's the
that's the
thing.
thing. So
Yeah,
I really debated on it between the moving the Nets up to this next tier that we're going to talk about. Because
yeah,
here's the thing: I put these tiers in like the order of what I think about these teams, and this next tier is just truthfully abysmal. But you're absolutely right. The top tier, the top three teams. Also, again, Mitchell's mouth just doesn't work. There are 7 teams, not 8 teams in this tier. Dear God. The Trailblazers are super fun to watch. The Raptors are fun to watch because it's painful. It's like I don't fully understand them all the time. And so there is a part of me that really enjoys watching them play until they, I don't know. I'm just waiting for Brandon Ingram to just really join that team. So we'll see.
yeah. I mean, look, they're a very strange collection of players. And Masai Ujiri, since the title has just kind of like made some slightly strange decisions. They've had some good teams. I don't know. They just like it's like they've gone back to that kind of like weird Raptors era of like the kind of post Bosch but pre Kawhi team. And hopefully they get to a point where they can actually start making the playoffs. But no, I like the way you have this. But I mean, if you want to move up to that next tier, the Bulls and Sixers were the two that I was like, okay, the Bulls now are they've kind of in sell mode. They got their pick back, obviously from the Spurs
Yeah.
in the trade. And they're pretty clearly just like in a let's just keep our pick and be bottom 10 and just be fine. The Sixers, I mean, yeah, you put it gross. Just what a disaster of a season.
So yeah, the next tier is the East play-in possibilities because the Sixers are sitting outside looking in, and from all intents and purposes, it looks like they're trying to make it in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the Bulls, like you said, trading away Levine and getting like just trying to sell to get their pieces. And the Bulls and the Sixers are at the bottom of this tier, and then it's the Hawks, Heat, and Magic,
Yep.
which I think they're firmly in the play-in.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
there's like some movement that the Magic can make or the Heat can make, but I think the Heat are also just going to be brutal to watch too. I don't know, and the Heat got we in our group chat we all liked the Heat's move and like the fact that they got Wiggins in the Butler trade because you only can do so much with the guy who's not even doing anything for you. So you're like, okay, this is a semi win. And God, yeah, the bottom of the East outside the Magic is awful to watch, and it's just tough.
Well, and some nights the Magic are awful to watch too.
Well, that's for sure. But you brought this up too, and I wish the NBA would just go to it, but they won't because why not? Why take away the chance to make more money? But for the play-in, there should be some sort of cutoff. There should be some sort of like difference in games, like
Definitely.
for you to like have a chance to make the play-in.
Yeah.
The West should have the play-in just because of how close
Yep.
close these teams are at the bottom. But I think you should have like a win threshold or something.
I think you need to be within 3.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Within 3 of the team in front of you, just to
Yes.
get
Yes.
to have a play-in opportunity. So
Like the 10, you need to be within 3 of the 9 to have that game.
yes,
And the 8 needs to be within 3 of the 7. You can still always have like the 8-9 if that's
or
close. Yeah,
right. I was gonna say, or just do an 8 and a 9. And like if the 10's too far away, you
then
do
you
an
drop
8-9
them.
game.
And the 7's too good, you drop them. You just give them the 7. And then if 8
Yeah.
and 9 play, yeah, it's like, but again, yeah, they're never going to do that.
No, they would never do that.
Yeah,
Wish they would.
the almighty
Um,
dollar.
damn right. But I also said, yeah, like the Magic were originally in a different tier, and I moved them down to this East Play-in possibility. It just sucked. They've had so many injuries this year. I didn't realize Jalen. We've talked about it before. Jalen Suggs apparently carries so much more weight than I ever thought. And today was fantasy basketball trade deadline day, and I turned down a trade for Paolo for Chet, and there's part of me that's slightly regretting that now.
Interesting.
Well, no, I have Paolo, and he was trading me Chet.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in our 9 category league, I'm like, man, Chet might be good at blocks, but man, I like the future possibility of Paolo. So I kept Paolo. Yeah, that's just I don't know, man. I'm gonna move up real quick though.
Yep.
Let's do the West. the West play in hopefuls
Yep.
because they're like we've talked about. The West is so much more fun, and the Spurs are kind of falling out of this a little bit. Hopefully, with Fox, they kind of and maybe this All Star break does help them and just maybe like gives them a little bit of a rest and like time to jive together. It's the Spurs, then the Warriors, then the Suns, Timberwolves, and Kings. I love watching the Spurs. I like this new Warriors team. This is a lot of fun watching the Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry Warriors. I hate watching the Suns because it truthfully is ugly at sometimes. I don't think this team has changed at all on offense compared to last year.
No, they have not.
You would think Budenholzer would do something differently. He has not. They have just resorted to mid-range jump shots. And like I said, they know they have two guys that they can go to down the stretch. It just seems so predictable. And I don't think that there's any way to like change that.
Yeah, I think both of them. I mean, those are two players I really like, and obviously are great players.
Sure.
But they're both guys who kind of are like, yeah, I know this is like what you're telling me, and like, probably should shoot more threes, but like, I don't really care. Like, I'm gonna do what I do best, and like, I don't really like totally blame them for that. I mean, it's gonna lead to their demise most likely, but I just am like, yeah, I mean, you build your team around those two guys. This is what they're gonna do. Like, and then you don't really surround them with like high level shooting, other than Grayson Allen, who's not having a good season as he had last year. Right. Yeah, it's just not a great roster. Like it's just the piece, and the Beal thing was obviously so dumb. But all the pieces around those two are just not. You can build a successful offense around those two players. You should be able to build a successful offense around those two players. But it's just not really the case.
I'm gonna pull a Shaq here, but don't forget Bol Bol and how important he really is to this team. In the
God, he loves Bol Bol.
He just loves trying to say that there's someone before Wemby.
Yeah, the Spurs will fall out of this. I mean, it'd be cool, but I don't. I mean, I don't really care. It's just like that's like, the future is set now.
Do you like this Kings team?
Now I respect this Kings team. I'll say that. It's like I like that they're trying still. Like I like that they didn't just like throw in the towel completely after the Fox trade. Like it's like no, actually, like we're okay. We're still in this, and I think the most likely team to fall. I mean, the Spurs obviously are going to fall out, but the most likely team to fall out after that is the Suns. Like the Suns are in danger of not even being in the play-in. Like that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's an absolute failure if that happens.
Well, and I'm like, think about it. Okay, so 21 make the finals.
Yep.
22
64-win team, awesome team. Yes.
And then lose to the Mavericks in the second round. The next year they trade for KD, and it's a great second round matchup against the eventual champion Nuggets.
Mm-hmm. Held their own, to be fair, in that series.
Held their own.
Yeah.
Held their own. And then last year they get swept by the Timberwolves, and it just all goes downhill from there. And so it's like, was DeAndre Ayton truthfully the missing piece to this team at some point in time? Was it really just the fact that Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton couldn't get along was the real issue?
Or they said they all had COVID in 2022 in that Game 7. That was the excuse given.
Whatever. Yeah. God, that's so stupid. All right. Anyways, I agree with you though. I think it is the Warriors. I think it's the Warriors. I think it's the Timberwolves and the Kings are for sure in this.
I actually might go in that order too.
Yeah, so I think you're right.
Yeah, the Warriors, Wolves, Kings.
Okay, love it. The next tier is the I'm confused and I don't know what to think. And I don't know what to think about these three Western Conference teams. We have the Clippers. Congrats, you got Ben Simmons. And I think the fact that Harden is shooting under 40% is something truly disgusting. And the fact that they made an all-star team is also gross. I almost lost my breath there. Yeah, the Mavericks, who, congratulations, the guy you traded for already hurt. And now you're without a center.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously so unlucky with the other center injuries as well. But yeah, that's just like a brutal, like... And it's like, of course, the guy that you traded for, looking for, like, looked amazing, and then gets hurt in the first game. Like, that's just I mean, look, Dallas and LA, the Lakers, we don't need to talk about a whole lot. I think like we've beaten that horse to death. I mean, the Clippers though, like you got to say, I mean, it's Austin was higher on him than all of us, and he's been vindicated so far. And yeah, Norm Powell, like if that continues, like I mean, yeah, they're like a pretty loaded roster. I mean, yeah,
they really are, and it's kind of gross. And I hate how and they actually have a home court advantage.
Yeah.
It's seen and it's understood. And if we can get Ben Simmons, like I would just want 2022 Ben or 21 Ben Simmons, whatever year it was, just even in that Hawks playoff game, that series, give me that kind of Ben Simmons where he's at least dishing and rebounding and still playing good defense. That's fine. You don't need him to score. Well, actually, you do need him to kind of score a little bit on this team, but even still, this team is a great defensive like team outside of Harden, and Powell can hold his own every now and then. And I enjoy truthfully watching this Clippers team, and it gives me some sort of pain because Ben Simmons can also be like your center if you need him
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah. No, and then Kawhi has had some moments where you're like, oh man, okay, like this is starting to look pretty good.
Yeah,
This is starting to look
yeah. No,
like Kawhi Leonard. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
giving some old 2019 20 or even just like the bubble version of Kawhi even a
Yeah.
little bit too. Um, okay, the next category is the we are fun to watch now and possibly in the playoffs. It is the two teams in the East who I love watching, and we might have just bought this. We might have got a month subscription to FanDuel Sports Network so I can watch one of these teams: the Detroit Pistons and then the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah. I like grouping these two together. And I think also it's like, kind of longtime rivals too. It was
Yeah,
a mere 20 years ago where these these were the hot button teams in the league having just,
yeah,
brawled to the death. But yeah, it's so funny that there's like these cyclical things, and it's like there's actually a decent chance that this is the 4-5 matchup. That'd be kind of fun, and actually a first round
yes.
series. So
The,
that would
the
be pretty cool.
Pistons have been the crap show of the East for what 4 or 5 years now, and they have been
Oh,
zero fun to watch
yeah,
until
even longer
this
than
year.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This year has been super fun. Cade has been electric, and anytime because the Pistons are one of the first games of every night. If
Hmm.
they are a home game, it's them and the Hornets. It feels like they play each other 7 times every year. But uh, that is such a fun way to start my night. Is like, hey, there's a Pistons game starting at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to do this while I make dinner, or just like while we're just like wrapping up dinner or something like that. And so it is such an easy, like fun watch. And then he's electric.
Yeah, he is. He's so good.
And then you go to the Pacers. I wrote it. There are 9 different guys that can get 20 points any night. And it could be Halliburton, it could be Siakam, it could be Matherin. Hell, it could be TJ McConnell, my NBA comparison. It could be any one of those guys, and that's what makes them so fun. They're efficient. They don't shoot a lot of threes. So if you want to watch a team that doesn't shoot a lot of threes, go watch the Pacers. And when they do, they go in. So it's like you're watching a very efficient team. They're just really bad at defense.
Yeah.
They're really fun. They're really fun to
Yeah.
watch, though.
Yeah, no, I'm actually glad that they've kind of they had that huge month. But it kind of got back in this tier that I actually thought they were going to be in to start the season. So they look great. Siakam's been awesome. I mean, yeah, a worthy All Star, and yeah, no, I had no qualms with this tier at all. But then you have one just above that. That's a team by themselves. You want to explain what that one is?
Well, because I feel like the title speaks for itself. We're old, but we can compete. Dot dot dot. Maybe.
Yeah,
This is the Milwaukee Bucks. Congrats, you traded Chris Middleton. I don't know where you're going from here. And like there's part and so if you read this, you're gonna see I wrote a description and then I wrote a ceiling and a floor for every team. Probably should have said that earlier when we were talking about what this post was. But for the Bucks, I literally said they could be a first round exit, which I could potentially see, or a Eastern Conference Finals team.
hmm
Like that's the range Giannis gets you. And hell, it might mean a finals appearance. But I'm saying in my head, it thinks I can only think Eastern Conference Finals. There's 3 teams in the East I have above them, and I can only see those 3 teams going to the finals and making a finals appearance. The Bucks, they would really have to show me that Kyle Kuzma was that much of a difference maker. And he's looked good in the games Giannis has been out. But man, I just don't know what to think of this Bucks team as of right now. You have so many old pieces that I worry can get hurt, and that's where I kind of fall into this too.
yeah, they're one of those ones. Like, I mean, you'll see as we kind of go higher on this list. Like, some of these teams can sustain an injury to some of their better guys and like be okay, for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one that just cannot. So,
Yep.
yeah,
And we've seen it the past 3 years. The
yeah,
past 3 years, there's been at least an injury that has hurt them, whether it's been Middleton, whether it's been Giannis. It's hurt their playoff chances, and it in just one game missed by Giannis does so much damage to them. it does so much damage to like just how they work as a team.
Well, and if they fall to like 6, like
Yeah,
which they probably will not, but they could. I mean, then their path is like New York, Boston, and Cleveland in a row. Like, I mean, no chance. Like, that's just, like they're not
that
beating all
sounds
three of those
brutal.
teams. Like, that's just not happening. So, no, they need a draw to kind of fall kindly. And then I do think Eastern Conference Finals is their ceiling, though. I mean, he's that good, and they do have enough kind of pieces around him. And I don't know. Like, if they get matched up with the Knicks in the first round, like I'm picking New York for sure. I mean, it's not even no doubt about it.
I just don't know if there's anyone that guards Giannis on that team, but that's that. But if you just let Giannis go get 50, then you have
You
everyone else
take
to
away
guard
everybody else.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The
you
old
might be fine.
Spurs to Amari thing, but yeah. So that's it for that tier. So then we go up one tier. The we are young and fun, but we can compete.
I think about it. You think about young teams. They're like sometimes unproven. They're sometimes just not like I don't know. I think about like last year's Thunder team. Everyone was doubting like, hey, this is a young team. They might have some maturity, but I just don't know how well they can do. I think these three teams can do something if they were to like get the chance, and I think that they have all three have an opportunity to go deep in the playoffs. So the Knicks, the Grizzlies, and the Rockets. These are like this starts the top seven of like this tier list. Knicks are at 7, then the Grizzlies 6, and then I have the Rockets 5. And I think you probably could flip the Rockets and the Grizzlies intermingled here. I know the Grizzlies moved up in the top like second in the West. I just haven't seen them go farther than the second round with Ja Morant as their star player. Now and then this Rockets team, they have such great depth, such great defense, and we've seen it now without Van Vliet though how bad their offense can look down the stretch of games. The Knicks, I just don't know what to think because we can see them play really good games against good teams, and then they also get shellacked by the Celtics by 40 or by
Yeah,
30, whatever it
yeah,
was, this like a week or two ago. And so, um, this Knicks team, and we saw them lose in the second round, and they lost because of injuries. I mean, you can say that, and I'm again worried about that this year with this
yep.
Knicks team. So, my worries are for the Knicks injuries and like how many minutes Tibbs has already played his guys. Grizzlies, we haven't seen them make it there, but I think they do have the potential and the talent to do it. Can we see them make the next step? And then this Rockets team, we've seen them come out and play really good against top tier teams. And I think youth is going to help them with just like fatigue and everything. But I also just don't know if they're ready for a knock them out, drag them out like playoff series. And so I have all of these teams. Actually, the Grizzlies, I'd only had them making the Western Conference Finals, but I had the Rockets and the Knicks. Their ceiling was a finals appearance, but they also, I mean, I think the Rockets and the Knicks could also lose in the first round, so
For
it
sure.
could be,
Yeah.
so it could be
I don't
anything.
think that Houston has conference finals potential. I think that it's just too many. Like, there's too many issues. There's too many
Hmm.
late game issues. I think it could win a series. Just could be such an awkward matchup. But when they start to have to play one of these like higher level, Thunder Nuggets teams, I just don't. I can't see them unless there's an injury. I can't see them actually beating these teams. But I like the tier. I like that these three are grouped together. And really, that just leaves us with our last one.
We can win this thing. Your four teams that I truthfully can win this thing. Um, we have the Denver Nuggets, who I think could win their second title in 3 years. We have the Boston Celtics, who I think could repeat. It would be the first team to repeat since the Warriors. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I think could be the first LeBron-less Cavs team to win a title. And then we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who would win their first title as a team in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
And so I think all four of these teams, we've seen the Nuggets get on a roll here. We've seen Jamal Murray kind of come back to being himself. We've seen him play himself into shape and actually look really good and be that second guy for Jokic we've all seen before. And is doing it without Westbrook, who looked really good when it was just him and Jokic running the show without Murray, or when Murray was kind of running slow there. So I like them. Celtics, I mean, I could sound like a biased asshole and just say I think they're going to win it all because I think they have the talent to do it. But if you don't think Jason Tatum should have won the All-Star Game MVP over Steph, I think you're just stupid because I think that guy was absolutely ridiculous the entire – I hated watching all the games, but at least Tatum was carrying. It felt like that Shaq OG's team, which is crazy that Jalen and Jason were on that team. Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah. Yeah.
What a team name. I guess they've made the conference finals almost every year that they've been.
Yeah. Yeah. It just feels like they're OGs. Yeah.
Yeah. The Cavs, I love the Hunter trade. I freaking love it. And it bothers me how they got him. And I think he can slot in as your starting three if you want to, or he can come off the bench and be a 3 or a 4. Um, he's the perfect size and I think the perfect fit, especially if you want, because they had Dean Wade, who was kind of similar. But I think Hunter is just an amplified version of what that is by a long shot. And then the Thunder. I think it's pretty well clear at this point that they're probably the top team right now. And they have an incredible defense. I am curious to kind of see if Chet and Hartenstein can play together. This defense is suffocating. And yeah, my only worry is where do they go in playoff games when it's just SGA? And we saw it last year with Williams. He kind of went cold and kind of disappeared come playoff time. Will we see the same thing from Chet? But I think what's going to be the biggest thing is the fact that they have Hartenstein just to be a body down there rebounding against guys. And that's just what sucked last year was we saw Valanciunas literally ruin Chet, I feel like, in that first series. And then Gafford and Lively kind of took advantage of that the next series, just being bigger, stronger bodies. And so I think Hartenstein helps with that.
For sure. I do think Denver of these four is the most like I think even Shea, like the Thunder can like sustain a 2-week injury from Shea, and like be okay. I'm obviously not gonna win playoff series without him, but and Boston can certainly do that. If any of their main guys go down, like they can kind of sustain some stuff. Cleveland has shown they can do that all year. Denver though, if there's a 2-week Jokic thing, like it's just a
they're out.
So but I do like come playoff time, I do think if they're healthy and they like look fine, I would love a Denver OKC matchup. And whatever round it can happen, I really, really want to see that matchup. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And the Cavs are they just kept it rolling. They just look awesome. You put it firing on all cylinders. Again, another team that can sustain if something happens to any of their main guys. But no, it does feel a little like it could be pretty chalky with a Boston OKC thing. But I think getting there, like Boston will have a way harder path getting there this year than they did last year.
We say that, and then injuries might happen, and then I might have someone in my DM saying, "Bro, it will be Logan Ball. It'll be one of my best friends, Logan Ball, who is a massive Bucks fan, saying your team is soft and they had to make it again because of injuries."
You never apologize when you win a title. I'm team like you don't apologize for the past.
No, I want you to know I don't apologize, especially since I hadn't won one since 2008. I will not apologize for that shit. No, don't.
But but both things can be true. It also can mean that like this year will be harder. Like it doesn't mean last year was like invalidated. It just means like this year will be harder.
I had the hands over behind my head with Tatum while we were both while both St. Louis boys were winning a title last year. I was ready for that. March 3rd, 1998. St. Louis boys were both really happy with ourselves. So yeah, go read that. Go give me your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you guys think about it, and if you think the tiers are any different, and if you do, tell me your thoughts, and I will ignore them. But thank you guys for listening to this podcast. It's been a lot of fun. We're excited for the NBA to be back. Go look at our website. Go check out the top 50 coaches if you haven't yet of all time. Go look at my game recap that me and my brother went to. Adam, I know with your high school season wrapping up, how many more games do you think you'll go to this year?
Well, we obviously are going to do our weekend at the end of March.
Yes.
Very excited for that. It's looking like I may do the first game back from the Spurs rodeo road trip, which is March 2nd against the Thunder, actually. So hoping to do that one. That'll probably be the next one. And then maybe one more in March until the two that we go to at the end of March. And then I'll try to do one at the very end of the season and see, if the Spurs are in the play-in game, if someone get the home court in the play-in game, that'd be fun. But I will try to go to a playoff game in either Houston or Dallas, though, at some point. So I'll say probably 5 more the rest of the season.
I love it. I love it. You'll have Adam's game recaps to look forward to. You'll also have mine whenever I go to another one. So we're super excited about that. And then go follow us on X/Twitter, on Instagram, and watch our video pods on YouTube. So if you wanted to see what face matches this voice, I apologize. But thanks everyone for listening. Have a great rest of your week. Go Celtics. Go Spurs. Hold on. Give me one, Adam. Who should we be? Oh, go Nets, because we really like them. They're fun to watch.
Nets are fun.
The Nets are fun. Have a great rest of your week, y'all.